Today's patient is the Cues SL U-4000 shifter from Shimano. It's a 9-speed shifter from the Cues Grupo. As you can see right here is the Link Glide logo, which indicates that it's a Link Glide pull shifter. So Cues uses the Link Glide cassette, which comes in 9, 10, and 11-speed versions. All use 11-speed chains. They all have the same spacing though, which is sort of an idea from Shimano that you could, in a pinch, use different number of speeds. If you couldn't, say, find an 11-speed at your local bike shop, you could swap in a 10 temporarily or something like that. This is a pretty low-end shifter. It's almost all plastic, has a lot of kind of cheap details, like there's no traction on the paddles. This bar clamp is just a single piece of an extrusion that's even, I think you might be able to even see the saw marks that are there, still kind of lagging. This screw here isn't even countersunk. Definitely made for, the budget end of Shimano's bike parts. I think this is the lowest Cues shifter. Since Cues comes in 9, 10, and 11 speeds, you could say, well, why doesn't Shimano just make all the shifters 11 speed and they'd work for everything, and they could just make nicer ones or less fancy ones and you'd get more interchangeability, but they don't. This is marketed as a 9-speed shifter and it has only 9 clicks as indicated here on the little gear indicator. Now, another YouTuber named Booth measured the pull on these shifters and found them to be really linear, which kind of led us to believe that maybe this actually had more clicks inside of it than just 9. Usually a shifter's first and last pull pulls more cable so that it allows the limit screws of the derailleur to actually determine the position on the first and last cogs. But the last shift on this 9-speed shifter was the same distance as all the other intermediate gears. So we kind of thought that maybe there was some extra gears hiding in here, and some initial investigation inside revealed that it did look like that might be possible. So since the title of this video gives it away that we can turn this into an 11-speed shifter, let's take a look inside here. All you need is a Phillips head screwdriver. This first screw comes out of this panel cover here that hides the shifter from the bottom. And looking inside here, you can kind of see this toothed wheel here, and that's the where the ratchet pawls engage to give you the different gears. There's a lot of teeth in here. There's probably 20 of them, and that doesn't mean this is necessarily a 20-speed shifter, but it does seem to have a lot more teeth than it needs. If you watch it, the shifter has a bar in here that will pull the ratchet up to a lower gear, and then it's caught by a holding pawl. And then when you upshift in the other direction, the first click here disengages the holding pawl, but it catches it on another little sort of detente that's built into the shifter. It works a lot like an escapement on a clock, where it goes back and forth and catches the ratchet wheel. And then when you let go, that holding sort of pawl then releases it to go back to the original ratchet pawl, and it sits 1 gear higher. If we go a little bit further here, we can take off these 3 screws, which will release the other side of the shifter. There's 2 short screws and then 1 longer screw here towards the front of the shifter. And then this panel comes off, leaving us with, you've got the indicator here and a little plastic cover. We'll just set those aside. So looking on this side, you can now see some of the internals, and there is some teeth here. These drive the little indicator, so as the shifter shifts, it moves out, and then the indicator moves across the range of the guide. And we don't see a whole lot else, but as we shift this down, so we're in the first gear, we get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and it stops. what you can see here is that there is a blocker. This plastic piece that sticks up right there hits this and prevents you from shifting any further. But if you look at where these things are kind of engaging, it seems like there are more shifts left. So it seems like it's possible that if we were to just take away some of this, basically from about here, halfway down this gap, this would give us more shifts. Now, if you watch it also kind of shift, and it's pretty hard to see without a good bright light and a magnifying glass, but there's also this right here, this like slice, and that will hit the cable if you try to go further than 9 speeds. So we'd also have to remove some of this. So it'd be basically this area right here to get it down to the level over here. Now this is soft plastic. Ideally you do this with a Dremel and a little abrasive burr, but I actually did it with just a hobby knife like this. Just carefully whittle these two down. You'll want to whittle here so that it ends out at the level lower, and then you'll want to take this down so that this higher mark here piece is level with this right here. Now I'm not going to do this live because I will likely cut myself, but I have done it on another shifter, so let's go over to that one. So this one has been trimmed, and as we shift it down here, so normally it would stop there, that would be gear 9, and now it goes to 10, and it goes to 11. Now here it stops, even though I've trimmed more plastic out in this area. I've gone actually all the way to the back of this kind of little depression. The shifter has now run out of officially clicked. So this is internally an 11-speed mechanism. And then also right here, you can see we've cut out right there, and that allows the cable to kind of come around here. And there you have it. This becomes an 11-speed shifter. To reassemble it is basically just a reverse of what we did before. I do recommend that you glue this plastic piece in to the cover plate just to make it easier, because it's a little fiddly, and when you assemble it, it just doesn't want to stay in place. So glue that in to make your life easy. You just put the indicator back on its little axle here, and it's got a spring which engages this flange, and then it just goes back together, and you have an 11-speed shifter. Now, is this something you really want to do? This is a $20 shifter, and it's $20 worth of quality. You could probably spend another $10, $20 and get something that's a little nicer and is officially 10 and 11 speed. But this does work as a hack. It doesn't take very long to do this, and as long as you don't cut yourself and end up at a hospital bill to get stitches, you know, it could be a good way to turn a 9-speed bike into a 10 or 11-speed bike when you get around to, say, you know, if you have to upgrade the cassette because it's worn out. So there you go. That's the Cues 11-speed hack. Best of luck.